Thank you for taking time to listen to this today. This is a really unusual episode. And I mean, this is a really unusual situation to anyone to have in their life, but here we are. So I am fortunate enough to have this platform, and I felt like it was an opportunity to get more people to know about the situation that our family is facing right now. We just met with law enforcement, and after getting an update and asking for their permission as well as the entire family's permission to put the information out this way, I feel comfortable doing this. But even still, it's very weird and uncomfortable. But yet, if the right person hears this somehow and it helps the situation, it will be worth it. So I'm just going to start at the beginning. Patrick Slade Boothe is my ex-husband. We got divorced 10 years ago, but he is the father of my children. And he went missing on January 24th. That is 2 Saturdays ago. Today is Monday, the 2nd of February. And my son was in touch with him on Friday night. And then on Saturday was supposed to go back over to do a project at his house with him. And in fact, his dad did not answer the phone, didn't respond to texts on Saturday, which is not very unusual, but still they did have plans. Then on Sunday, nothing. Monday, Tuesday went by. And then on Wednesday, my son, his name is Wilson, he reached out to me to see if I'd spoken with his dad. And he and I are not in contact. We have not spoken. But he said, I'm going to go by and check on him because I haven't heard from him in several days. And so we were driving nearby. Leanne and I were driving nearby. So we just decided to go to his driveway to see if his car was there. So when we got to his driveway, he was not there. And Slade actually works for UPS. And the UPS boss was there in the driveway, and he was doing the same thing we were doing. He was on his phone. And we got out and spoke with him, and he said, we just haven't heard from him. It's unlike him. He shows up for work, or he would definitely be in touch with somebody. He, does not respond to anyone's texts or calls, and we're just worried. So we all stood there in the driveway and waited for Wilson to get there because he was the only one with access to the house. This has always been the key factor in this, is that the dogs were left in the house, and Slade loves those dogs so much and would never just go off and leave them unattended for even a day. He always had somebody come by, check on them at lunch or, in the afternoon. They just were never left alone. So Wilson goes inside, and the dogs had been in there for several days. I think it was 3 or 4 days at that point that they've been in the house. Lets dogs out. They go outside, and then he comes back after having searched the house, and plus his dad isn't there. But the UPS man leaves. Wilson and I go to the store to go buy dog food for the dogs, call the police in the meantime. And at that point, Wilson does let me know that, he has found drugs in his dad's home, which were very unexpected. It was just not something anyone expected. And so, we're pretty liberal, open-minded when it comes to like smoking pot, that kind of thing. But this was worse. This was beyond that. And just, I'm not trying to defame him in any way, but I think it's a key part of the story, because if you didn't know, it would not make any sense at all. And if you do know, it still doesn't make a ton of sense, but it makes more than if you had no idea that there were actually drugs involved. So we get back to the house, meet the police, and they began searching the home. They did find that, Wilson told them where to look for the drugs. It became very clear that he left his house on his own accord. It did not look like any kind of struggle had ensued. He left and, just left on Saturday and did not come back. And so then it got really weird from there. The police began their investigation, and what they found, and these are the facts, and we just kind of wanted to put them out there in case anybody has information that could help, solve this. He left his house around 5:50 in the morning, and there is a camera at the community center right there. He lives at 301 Parker Place in Jacksonville. There is a camera, and it recorded him leaving on his own. No one was following him. another camera at the corner of George Douthat and 21 or Pelham, which is right there by Walmart, recorded him again alone with no one following him. He rode on into Anniston and stopped at a gas station on 8th and Pelham, which, again, he was just in and out and no one, didn't seem to be in danger or anything like that. But then that was the last. His car was, the tag was scanned in like leaving Anniston into Oxford at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And at that time, when we began to kind of tell this story, people would ask us, was he hunting? Was he possibly, going to do any? He did not do anything at 6 in the morning. He is not a 6 in the morning guy. So no, that was not what he was doing. He was, in our opinion, up and had not been to bed. And so at 6 in the morning, he's leaving his house or five, yeah, 6 in the morning. So then he goes to get on 20 and ends up going into Talladega, and his phone is what is now, they've now tracked. And so he is like in Stimley Bridge Road, Wolf Pond, some different areas right in there. And that's where it gets really weird for us because nobody, we don't know anyone over there. We don't know why he'd be over there, especially that hour of the day. And so he is there. His phone was there for 6 hours until the last signal, which was given about 12, I think it was 12:13 was the last time the phone pinged. And it was in that general area there. So for that amount of time, he was there, but suddenly the phone is dead. And ever since then, nothing. So no one has seen him. No one has heard from him. He's not texted or called. He's not responded to anyone. And the weirdest thing is his car is missing too. So he's nowhere. And, originally when all this started, our initial thought is, maybe he got in an accident. Maybe he drove, off of the side of a ravine or something like that. That was my thought. I say he's out riding around, a little out of his mind. Maybe he had a wreck. But at this point now, the investigation has been very thorough. We feel very comfortable in what all has been done. And that is helicopters, that is on the ground surveillance, that is door to door, that is cooperation between Jacksonville and Talladega. And, it's very far reaching. It is not just, this local law enforcement trying to solve it. They've had help with Oxford. They've had, like it is taken very seriously. And people have canvassed, stores nearby, gas stations, and even knocked on some doors. So we're just at a point right now where, our family is overwhelmed with all the outpouring of support and love and people wanting to help and people trying to do things for us. And, we don't know what you can do for us. And in fact, we feel like the best advice we could say is just let the police do their job. But if you know of anybody in that area that might know anything, that would be super helpful. I would be lying if I said that Slade and I were, on good terms at all. But he is the father of my children, and he has a wonderful family who were very concerned about him. Today at that meeting was his mother, his two sisters. He's got tons of fraternity brothers, and like our whole wedding party has reached out like one at a time. I mean, it's unbelievable the support that people are coming out now just out of the woodwork to offer. So, this needs to be solved. It needs to be understood. Like if someone has him, like they need to know that this is bigger than just some person who's on drugs that just showed up. It's bigger than that. This is a person who is loved and cared about, and we just want any kind of information that people may have to be shared. He was in a 2007 white Lexus SUV, and I think the telltale feature is the gold rims on that because it is kind of unusual. But that is what he's traveling in. He is 5'9", brown hair, brown eyes. Does not look like a junkie. Does not look like a drug person. Clean cut individual, head on.
They said on the camera he had on an orangish red shirt.
Yeah, like an orangish red shirt. But I mean, we're on day 10 at this point. So he's been missing for 10 days and it's very unsettling. We don't know if someone has him. We don't know if someone has hurt him. We feel very certain that he's not hurt himself. The evidence would not support that at all. And he just, even my son has messages from him where he just said, if something were to ever happen to me, I would never hurt myself. I need you to know that I would not, and we really don't think he did. And originally, there was a time when I thought maybe, but you know what? No, that's not it. So we just, it's, it's pretty clear that there's foul play involved and we just need the story to get out to where maybe just the right person hears it that knows something and can offer us some kind of tip or just anything that we can have the police follow up on. We're being very cautious. We are not trying to interfere with their investigation in any way. And they have asked us, to let them do their jobs, but also they are very comfortable with us sharing the information that we have up until now. And that's really pretty much it.
If somebody's listening to this podcast right now, what would you want them to know?
If someone's listening that has any information, just call the Jacksonville Police Department. The Jacksonville Police Department are open to, I mean, this is a very hot investigation right now, and they are here to hear all of the, any tips anyone has. So I would definitely recommend contacting them. Not me, not our family. Our family, again, has had so much going on here in the last few days. And we're just trying to keep some kind of level of normalcy in our lives because we all also have jobs and also are going to school and also are doing all the things that normal people do while living this nightmare that is actually unfolding each day for us. So while thank you so much for your support and kindness, it's a lot to try to respond to everyone who's reaching out. I will say that in the last meeting with the police, there is a potential person of interest in custody, but they're just on a short hold and we don't really know much about them or really even what ties them to this story, but it's worth mentioning. So there's that. But other than that, we're in the dark. So that's the reason for this podcast today. Please share this and maybe it can just get to the right ears that need to hear it. We appreciate your prayers and just for your kindness during this time. Thank you.